So
Mhm.
everyone, this is Gloria, and I'm Mercedes. So we have an adjustable strap. This actually came with the PitchSix kit, so it's easy to adjust the height. So Gloria, you're gonna step on both sides of the plate, and basically we want to get to a point where you can like squat down, back, straight. So does that feel like if you were to pull up, that feels good?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna do the quick start mode. Should pick up the force board. We're gonna do a couple pulls. You're gonna just warm up, maybe a 10-second pull. So this is your counter right here, and then you can rest. Yeah, rest for 30 seconds or so. Some common mistakes that people make when they're setting up the force board and coming down to it is that when they pull, they'll pull with the shoulders, or they're trying to do a deadlift, and you don't want to do that. It's more of a squat so that your legs are actually pushing up against the board rather than your back doing most of the work. So that's really how we're trying to set her up initially. Okay, so those I would say are the kind of the two biggest mistakes people make when setting up the force board. All right, Dylan and Matt, y'all can go ahead and introduce if you want.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys tuning in for this. I'm Dylan. Matt Kupel's also the call. He's the owner of PitchSix, founder. Today we're just doing like an introductory event to kind of give people a starting point. They just got the app, they just got the product, a lot of features in there. So kind of can be confusing on where to start, how to go about a workflow, creating a workout, and so on. So this is just going to be a tool for you to use to kind of jump into the app, and we're going to run through a warm-up. So she has the app in quick start mode right now, which is a really easy way to use the app. It's pretty ad hoc. Whenever you start pulling, it's going to start recording. Whenever you stop, it's going to stop. This is a really good tool for a, let's say, RPE, rate of perceived exertion based warm up. So you can kind of slowly load the fingers up based on how you feel, get to a kind of perceived max as you go along. After the warm up, she's going to do an assessment on the athlete, kind of get some metrics for us to work with, and we're going to run through a no hang routine. But yeah, just doing some time rest here, and Mercedes is going to take it from here.
So Gloria went a little wider with her feet on the force board, on the board down below, and brought her knees forward slightly to get into more of that squat position. So that feels more comfortable for her. Gloria just did a couple push-ups, some hangs on the hangboard to kind of get ready for this. There was a little bit of warm-up that was not included here. But you want to make sure that you're warming up like you would for, like if you were going to go super hard in climbing, like it doesn't have to be as long, but you really want to prepare your body for something really hard. I think another mistake that people make is not warming up enough, and then you don't get a true test of what your peak force is. So yeah, just make sure that you're really ready and like slowly ramp up like how much you're pulling on the board if you're going to be using. I think it's good to use the force gauge because then you can really see yourself ramping up with each pull. All right, so we're going to do the 20 millimeter peak force assessment. We're going to be using both hands. So once you start pulling, it's going to pick it up. So you don't have to go super fast. You can go a little slow as it starts and then pull as hard as you can.
And how long am I pulling for?
You're pulling for, I believe, 3 seconds.
Oh.
Yeah. Good. Nice. So it was 160 was your max. So just do 160 times 0.3 because we're taking this number for your no hangs protocol.
So this shows, this is a leaderboard
You
we
can come
did
over
for
here.
the last event that we did. This was actually from the Idaho Mountain Festival up in Lander. So I'm going to look at the female side of this chart. And did I get your name right, Gloria? Is that right? Okay, good. So you were number 19, 19 out of, we had 40 women. So you're kind of like halfway through the stack. So 160 pounds was to 123% of your body weight. So that's, where you are. I would say about 10% of the women can get over 200 pounds. So if you're, and I suspect you look a little awkward there. Probably if you did a few more pulls, you'd get a little bit higher, but about 10% of the women that we test can achieve 200 pounds or more, and you see that reflected in here. We have top 7 out of 40, so about around 10%. And then I have here a strength skill chart for you. I'll blow this up a little bit. So this is you here, and this is this is about 1,000, maybe 1,200 people that we have spread across men and women on this chart. And it shows your flash bouldering grade here, which you said is V6. And the dotted line is kind of a linear fit curve against all of that data. So bouldering V6, you're a bit below the line, which means you rely a bit more on skill to get up problems compared to other climbers, which is not uncommon for women. A lot of women are in that kind of space, which, men are typically a little bit stronger. So they usually are above the line and women are below the line. So using skill to get up boulders is a great way to climb. So that's your flash bouldering grade. And then the same story is true down here on the peak force versus your max bouldering grades. You're climbing at V8. And so you're a little bit below the line there as well. So you're relying on skill versus leaning a little bit more on strength, which is great. I'll note that we have people climbing V6 that are pulling 300% of their body weight. I'll go up to this chart. People climbing V6 here, pulling 350% of their body weight, and others pulling 50% of their body weight, and they're climbing the same grade. So there's a lot of ways to rock climb. No singular method.
Okay. So we're going to move into the no hangs protocol. Before I do that, Matt and Dylan, did you want to add anything here?
One thing to maybe add is, I guess, like overall kind of an intent for something like this is going to be setting up a percentage-based routine. So the reason we're going through this like a force board, this assessment for these grips, is we're getting a max number, and then jumping into a routine. That routine is going to have some goal. We're going to set a percentage for that goal. In the no hangs, it tends to be a little bit lower. For a different repeater, it's going to be a different percentage. And there's some descriptions in the app that kind of highlight that a little bit in pro routines. You can kind of see like a little bit more of a description there in terms of intent. But the goal is to get a number, take a percentage of that number, and that's going to be what you're basing around your workouts.
Awesome. So the no hang protocol, really came about or became much more popular with Emil Abramson when he published his YouTube video on like the research that they did to basically research around tendon like strength, but also tendon rehab. And they decided, based on this research, they're going to do this protocol where they're not going to load up their fingers very heavy at all. So I believe their percentages were more like 50%, between 40 and 50% of their max. And then they would do 10 hangs for 10 seconds with about 50-second rest in between. And they would do that twice a day. This would be in addition to their climbing. And then they wanted to test whether just by incorporating this really light load, high repetition protocol, whether it would increase finger strength, but most notably, would it increase their climbing grades? And of course, like it actually worked really well. I don't think that he was doing any additional finger strength training. He was doing his regular climbing training. He did a little bit of regular like body strength training, but it was mostly just climbing in the gym and outside, and then twice a day he would do this no hangs protocol. There's a lot more in-depth information. If you all you have to do is just like type in Emil Abramson no hangs, I believe, and that video should come up. And he just republished a new video on kind of where he's at now. He's been doing it for several years now, and I think he climbs V14 maybe plus. And so Matt, Dylan, and I actually got to talk with Emil to see what if we did it at a much lower intensity, because even 40 to 50% it can feel really heavy, especially on days that you're not feeling super great, especially if it's a recovery day. It feels heavy on the fingers. And so what I wanted to do was test a 30% no hang and see how that would affect finger strength. And so we actually did, Dylan and I went through a protocol for 30 days. We didn't change anything else about our climbing, and we did notice a significant improvement in finger strength. So this is a protocol that I actually prefer, and I ask most of my clients to do, where you don't have to do it every day. We're actually doing 30%, 10 hangs. You can rest 20 seconds or 50 seconds. You could do it 3 times a week. You can actually do this as part of your warm-up and still work on your finger strength at a low load while making sure that you're not going to increase your risk of injury. So some people who have done Emil's no hang protocol actually got there was a higher occurrence of finger injuries for individuals, maybe because they weren't actually doing 50% of their 1 rep max. In Emil's video, you just see him hanging from a hangboard, and he's got his toes on the ground, and that's not very accurate. And so some people, I bet, maybe just overdid it. So for our sake, for our purposes here, we're trying to do 30%, which still feels actually pretty heavy, but it's very consistent. Okay, so we did notice some really great results from this, and clients who do this in our program have also noticed significant gains in just general health and longevity of their hands and their fingers. I've rehabbed my fingers a couple times with this protocol as well. On the app here, I put in, there's a 20 mil 4-finger half crimp, and I put in 30% of Gloria's 1 rep max, which is 48 pounds. So that's going to be her target for the 10 seconds. And then down below, so she's going to do 5 half crimp and then move on to 5 3-finger drag. So we put that in at 39 pounds. And so now those targets should be set up. So all Gloria is going to do is pull for 10 seconds. This is the half crimp. Yep. And so it shows up green when you're hitting that target. This is nice for pulling awareness as well, and good rest. So you're going to rest for 20 seconds. It's going to have a counter there.
Easy.
Yeah, and then you'll do it again. So she's basically just going to run through this. It's going to take 5 minutes. Okay. So Matt and Dylan, if y'all had anything else to add.
Yeah, just talking on the 30 days we did with the knowing trial was really fun, and similar to Mercedes, I've also rehabbed my fingers using this protocol. I find it's a really good way for building adaptability within the fingers, kind of just consistent loading and getting your fingers stimulating them enough to tell your brain that you're going to be doing this pretty often, but not enough to create any volume increase and create risk of injury. So really good way to train the fingers, introduce finger strength training if you're trying to get into hangboarding, or somebody who is injury prone to finger activities and climbing related activities as well. So we definitely recommend this if you're just getting started with force board. Do an assessment, see where you're at, get some analytics, and it'll kind of give you, this routine will give you a good gateway to getting started with hangboard finger training, building adaptability and some strength as well, some resiliency.
And actually, because we were doing it for 30 days, sometimes I would forget. And like just before going to bed, I was like, I got to get my no hangs in. And I would actually sit on the couch with this setup and just pull against the board that way. And actually worked really well. So, you know, couch is in. If you want to do no hangs, you can do this seated, which, you know, any workout that you can do sitting on the couch, I'm going to love for sure.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I don't recommend this for some high intensity training, but I also did this in bed. I like laying down fully horizontal, and that's a highlight of the force board, is the ability to kind of train anywhere, and connect to your phone, to the app, get some understanding of what you're pulling, and some intent behind that as well. So
I did it one better. I did it in bed while I was sleeping once. So
you were sleeping.
yeah, trained while I slept.
Yeah, so force board's a great tool for training anywhere. If you're a remote person, someone who travels a lot, this is a portable tool, and it's pretty powerful in the app, so you can do all sorts of stuff.
So this demo, we're doing just 2 positions, the 4-finger half crimp, the 3-finger drag. But inside of the PitchSix app is a protocol called Mercedes, I think, no hangs. And we actually work 5 different positions. We work the 4-finger crimp, 3-finger open, A team, which is index and middle finger, B team, middle and ring finger, and then C team, which is the pinky and the ring finger. So if you're going to do that protocol the way that it's set in the app and you want to train all 5, then you will have to do a peak force test for each one, or a quick start peak force test, because the peak force test in the app is specifically for the 4-finger drag, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, and all routines are saved. If you're setting up an assessment-based protocol within the app, go to create routine, set that assessment, name the assessment. So let's say, like for this example case, Mercedes created a workout that was labeled 3-finger drag assessment. After she completes that assessment, it was just 1 rep. She's going to see that in the feed screen, and she can go back and review that information if she does that workout again. So she can still check in with analytics, view that exercise, that routine later on down the line if she chooses to do an assessment based on that, and then do a routine, and then maybe check in a few weeks. It's like, oh, I gained some strength in that exercise, in that position within the hand. So she can go back and review that.
One way that I've done this no hang protocol is to once a week. You can choose to say you're going to just do the no hang protocol and do it for a month at the same load level, and that works great. Another way to do it is to readjust your max level every week. And I did that when I went through it, and I just readjusted it. I did it in the same routine, but instead of pulling at 50%, I pulled hard after warming up. And then the data was all kind of included in that during that assessment, and I didn't have to go look for it. It was just right there. I just would once a week have a peak number that went way up. And then I adjusted my targets as a result of that. So it's it's an option.
Awesome. Well, Gloria is done. That was really quick. So it only takes 5 minutes. How are you feeling?
Or fingers feel warm.
Fingers are warm. Yeah, and so you can use this as a warm-up too. You know, I think this is actually where I like most people to do it, is in their warm-up on their climbing days, and then on their rest days if they can do it. That's even a bigger bonus.